Welcome to the second session of this fourth module. In the previous session, we have given an introduction about what are these composite materials and how they have been formed. Let us discuss different types of composite materials. The first one is a polymer composite. It consists of polymer resin as a matrix material. The term resin is used in this context to denote a high molecular weight reinforcing plastic. These materials are formed as matrix materials in great diversity of composite applications, as well as in large quantities because of their excellent room temperature properties and ease of fabrication, which have been highly economical also. So they are called as a polymer composites. Okay. That is the resin that what they use it is nothing but a polymer composite. Then the ceramics, instead of the polymers, they will use the ceramic particles. Ceramic particles like uh, which see, these ceramic particles have got a higher resistance to temperature. Okay, it can withstand a higher temperature. So in most of the occasions, these are used in order to provide that property to a particular material, and they have also resistant highly resistant to the corrosion also. That is one of the major important application. So these ceramic materials are also well known as for their high temperature properties as well as their resistance to oxidation. But they are very brittle in nature. Say for example, they are not ductile in nature. That means, say for example, now if you take this is a brittle material. This is a brittle metal. If I try to ductile it, if I want to stretch this, what happens? This will get breaks up. That means this is brittle in nature. Something like a glass. Okay. Something like a plain glass will be so high brittle in nature. That is one disadvantage, but still it has got a very vast applications even in domestic also. Okay. Now the MMCs are metal matrix composites. So here the metal matrix composites are those where metal or alloys are used as matrix materials. They have been used as matrix materials. These metals used are usually ductile in nature and reinforced with strong and low density materials of all shapes, fibers, and viscous and particulates. Such as a combination helps in obtaining materials with improved stiffness, abrasion resistance, creep resistance, thermal conductivity, dimensional stability, and even for the wear resistance also. Wear resistance means whenever there is a metal in metal contact, usually the metals will wear out very easily. In order to have a more or a better life of the base materials, what we will do it is we will go for composite materials with metal matrix composite. Okay, the different applications of the composite materials. Basically, fiberglass, which is a composite consisting of glass fibers within a polymer matrix, is extensively used to make pipes, roofings, storage containers in industrial floorings, and automotive and marine bodies. This is the applications of this fiberglass. And then carbon reinforced polymers composites are widely utilized in making sports and recreational equipments, pressure vessels, aircraft, structural components, many other. And then we also have a boron fiber reinforced polymers composites which have been used in military aircraft components, helicopter rotor blades, and some sporting goods. Silicon carbides and alumina fiber reinforced composites are utilized in tennis rackets, circuit boards, and nose cones. No, this silicon carbide is one of the applications you might have seen the rackets. that is the bats, shuttle bats or maybe the tennis bats. They are with a very high strength with a lower weight. They will be hollow actually, the frame, everything will be hollow. But still they will be very thin, very lightweight, maybe around 80 grams they will weigh, but takes more load, and it will also have a highly shock absorbing nature. So such kind of an advanced applications can have these composite materials. Then filament windings, winded filament winded fiber reinforced plastics, which have extremely high tensile strengths, are used to make chemical, fuel storage tanks and pressure vessels. Hybrid composites, which is obtained by using two or more different kind of fibers in a single matrix, they have a better all-round combination of properties than the composites containing only a single fiber type. A polymer composite reinforced with carbon and glass fiber is used for in sporting boots and lightweight orthopedic components. Orthopedics maybe the orthopedic applications, maybe the people who are aged or people who cannot walk, who are finding difficult, they will also have a walking sticks or the supports, which should be light in weight with the more strength. The body weight it has to take it. In such kind of applications also, these composite materials are used. And these composite materials are also used in marine applications and even in the aircraft applications also. Basically, this metal matrix is basically a homogeneous and monolithic material in which a fiber system of a composite is being embedded. It is completely continuous. The matrix provides a medium for binding and holding reinforcements together into a solid. Metal matrix composites are a group of materials such as metals, alloys, or intermetallic compounds incorporated with various reinforcing phases such as particulates, viscous, and continuous fibers. The properties that is being possessed by these MMCs are higher strength to density ratio, higher stiffness to density ratio, better fatigue resistance, better elevated temperature properties, higher strength and low creep rate at higher temperature also. They have got a very low alpha value, that is thermal coefficient of expansion, and better wear resistance. The piezoelectric materials, my dear friends, actually these piezoelectric materials have been one of the most wonderful materials which plays a major role in uh, in enhancing this mechanical stress and shifting the positive and negative charges centers one. Actually, this piezoelectric effect is the ability of a certain material to generate an electric charge in response to applied mechanical stresses. Say for example, if you take this as a piezoelectric material, if I apply a load onto this, if I apply a load onto this, by taking this load instead of this load, it will respond with an electric charge. That is a piezoelectric material. Okay. Now these piezoelectric materials, the word piezoelectric is derived from the Greek piezein, which means that a squeeze or a press, and piezo, which is a Greek for push, that is a push or it may be pull. The mechanical load for the mechanical stress, it will respond in terms of electric charge. One of the unique characteristics of the piezoelectric effect is that it is reversible, meaning the material exhibiting the direct piezoelectric effect, the generation of electricity when stress is applied, also exhibits a converse piezoelectric effect. That means the generation of stress when an electric field is being applied. That means the beauty of these materials are, we have any piezoelectric material like this, if we subject this to any mechanical load or a stress, it will generate the electric charges as an output. Say for example, I will try to bend this, or I will try to apply load, compression load on both the sides. I will press this. So what happens, this material will gives out an electric charge, and it is reversible. That is the beauty. So whenever I transfer the electric charge to this material, it will respond in the mechanical, mechanical what, the mechanical stresses. Is that clear? So that is the way these piezoelectric materials will respond. When piezoelectric material is being placed under the mechanical stress, a shifting of positive and negative charges centers in the material takes place. Okay, which then results, in an external electric field when a reversed, an outer electrical field either stretches or compresses the piezoelectric materials. Is it clear? So that is the use of these piezoelectric materials. Then the other material is nothing but a shape memory alloys. Basically, these shape memory alloys is an alloy that can be deformed when cold, but returns to its pre-deformed shapes when heated. That is the specialty of these shape memory alloys is that can be deformed. Say for example, the material is placed like this. I will deform it into a one rainbow shape when it is cold, but returns to its original state when it is been heated. Are you getting my point? Say for example, I have a material like this in a bow shape. No, this is in a bow shape. Okay, now I have made this shape memory alloy in this bow shape, in a rainbow shape, or it is in a curvy shape in a cold climate. So when I heat this, it will come back to its original shape, predeformed shape. That is the beauty of this shape memory alloys. That is means a shape memory alloy is an alloy that can be deformed when cold, but returns to its predeformed shape when it is been heated. It can also be called as a memory metals. Memory metals. It is only because it remember. It is not like it remembers. It will come to its original state once it has been heated. Is okay. These memory alloys are a smart metals, are a smart alloys also. They are called, and they are also called as a muzzle wires. So different names are there. Memory metals, memory alloys, smart metal, and smart alloy or muzzle wires. They are also called. Basically, nickel titanium, that is NiTi, shape memory alloys SMAs have been used in the manufacturing of orthodontic wires due to their shape memory properties, super elasticity, and high ductility, and resistance to corrosion. SMAs have greater strength and lower modulus of elasticity when compared with stainless steels. A group of metallic materials that can return to some previously defined shape or size when subjected to the appropriate thermal procedure. That is what we majorly call it as the shape memory alloys. That is, shape memory alloys can be plastically deformed at some relative low temperature and can open, and upon exposure to the some higher temperatures they will return to their original uh, shape. Now my dear friends, these shape memories alloys can also be used as certain occasion sensors. Is it clear? And these shape memory alloys are costlier. That is the reason why these materials applications is bit restricted. And then semiconductors, actually conductors and semiconductors and the insulators, we know what do you mean by conductor. Conductor is one which conducts electricity or heat easily through that, whereas the insulator is one which doesn't allows anything to pass through it, whether it may be electricity or heat. Semiconductors are one which acts as both conductors and insulators. That is what we call it as as semiconductors. For example, plastic is an insulator, whereas metals are conductors. Correct? See, whereas semiconductors are like germanium. Germanium is one of the most popular one, germanium, or it may be a silicon, which are the examples for the semiconductors. They lie between conductors and insulators. The level of conductivity are the main difference between conductors, semiconductors, and insulators. Conductors display high conductivity, which means they allow the energy such as electricity, or it may be heat, or it may be a sound. Sound is nothing but a pressure energy, my dear friends. So such as electricity, heat, or sound to easily flow through them. Whereas semiconductors allow a moderate flow, and insulators exhibit low conductivity. Conductors are basically the materials that allow easy flow of electric current, hence exhibiting high conductivity. Whereas the semiconductors are the materials that possess moderate conductivity, as against insulators are the materials that prevent the flow of charge through them, thus exhibiting low conductivity. Low conductivity or absence of conductivity. Insulators are materials that impede the free flow of electrons from atoms to atom and molecule to molecule. They are nothing but the insulators. These semiconductors, especially silicon and germanium, they always exist in different types, like a p-type semiconductors and n-type semiconductor. In the p-type semiconductors, there will be more number of holes visible, whereas in the n-type conductor, more number of electrons charge will be there. So basically, these semiconductors are extensive applied are used in the solar panel making systems and even in the electronic systems. Is that clear? So what happens? They act as a both conductors as well as an insulator. When they attain energy, they act as a conductor. When the energy has been removed, they act as an insulator. Okay. Now let us go to the the joining processes. Out of the different engineering joining applications, the applications includes the soldering, brazing, and welding. They are the three means by which materials can be joined. Okay, whatever the nut and bolt system, it is all there. It is only fixing. It's an external joining, not internal joining. So, what do you mean by soldering then? Soldering is a method of a uniting two thin metal pieces using a dissimilar metal or alloy by the application of heat. So, soldering is a method of joining two metal sheets actually, which are compositely they are different in nature. Those have been used by the use of a dissimilar metals or an alloys by the application of heat. The alloy of lead and tin is called as a soft solder. Solder, you might have seen it, even it is something like a thread, it will be in a silver color. It's a lead and tin, its melting point is very low. So that what happens if you take a gun, that means not that gun of course, that is a solder gun. If you take a solder gun, which tip will be very hot, if you touch that solder, the immediately it just melts and it becomes a liquid. Is that clear? So what happens? The alloy of lead and tin that is been used as a soft solder, which is used in varying proportions for sheet metal works. Okay, say for example, if you want to join a aluminum with a copper, then they will go for dissimilar metals, right? Then they will go for soldering, where uh, the heat will be applied with for the solder, which makes these two get united. Okay, so varying composition of a sheet metal work, plumbing work, plumbers they will use it, and extensively they are used in electrical junctions. Is it clear? The melting temperature of the soft solder will be between 150 to 50 degrees centigrade. It is very low. That is what I have been talking about. The solder melting point is very low. The clean To clean the joint surfaces and to prevent oxidation, a suitable flux is being used while soldering. Zinc chloride is the flux that is being used. Maybe you might have not observed. A zinc flux will be there in a small box. It will be something like a paste. What they will do it is they will take a wire like solder that is made up of tin and lead. They will make it to a they will dip it and they will take it out. Then the solder gun will make them into that. So that is also been zinc chloride is also used as a flux that is commonly used in soft solderings. A soldering iron is used to apply the soldering gun actually, which is made up of an iron, is been used to apply the heat produced from the electric source. So electrical connectivity will be there, and this will be used as a steel. Steel tip will be there. It is only because we will have to hold the molten material, that is the lead and tin, that is the solder. So and it should not get melted also, right? So we will have a steel or a the iron ferrous material which has got a higher melting point, maybe around 1800 or 1600 degrees centigrade. So this solder just melts at 150 to 50 degrees centigrade itself. The alloy of copper, from the electric source, an alloy of copper, tin and silver known as hard solder is used for the strong lines. That is what for the zinc chloride it is used, whereas the alloy of copper and tin is being used as a solder for the strong joints. Okay. Next, uh, 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 the procedure it just carries out like this. First, cleaning of joining surfaces will be made. Then the application of flux. That is what wherever we want to solder it, whether it may be in most of all you might have seen it in the electrical applications only. They will clean it because the dust particles makes it a weak. Dust particles makes it as a weaker bonding. So they will clean it. Then they will apply the flux timing the trimming of the surfaces to be soldered, and then uh, heating, and then the final cleanup or a patch up work will be done by this soldering process. That is the use of the soldering. And when it comes to the advantages of soldering, low cost and easy to use. Soldered joints are easy to repair or to do work, and these soldered joints can last for many years. Low energy is required to solder because the melting point is nothing but 50 to 150 degrees centigrade, and they have always used in a sophisticated area. It is only because they cannot take more load, isn't it? So low energy is required to solder. An experienced person can exercise a high degree of control over the soldering process, obviously. Okay. So the disadvantages of soldering are they are not suitable for the heavy sections, temperature is limited, and strength is limited. Basically, they will not have a higher strength. Even if you try to pick it up with your hands by applying maximum force, you can take it, you can pull it out. So that is the reason why in electronic goods they will be always covered. So, is it clear? Next one is a brazing. Brazing is also a joining process method where the joining between two similar or it may be dissimilar metals using a special fusible alloy joints the formed of brazing are stronger than that of the soldering. The joints which have been formed by the brazing process are better than or stronger than the soldered uh, joints. During the brazing, the base metal of the two pieces to be joined is not melted. The filler material must have an ability to wet the surfaces of the base metals to which it is applied. Some diffusion or alloying of the filler material with base metal takes place even though the base metal does not reach its melting temperature. The materials used in brazing are important one. copper base and silver base alloys. These two can be classified under the name of the spelter. These spelter are also used to join. Maybe you might have seen it in our utensils, domestic kitchen utensils. Whenever there is a material or there is a hole in the vessel, it will be always covered with a brazing material by the brazing process. Method of brazing: cleaning the surface of the pot, application of the flux at the place of the. It is the same thing what we have followed in the soldering process also. Then common borax, a mixture of borax and boric acid is used as a flux. There we just use the two types of that is in the soldering we use the flux as a zinc chloride, whereas here in this we just use a borax or the mixture of borax as well as the boric acid. The joint and the filler material are heated by the gas welding torch above the melting temperature of the filler materials. It flows into the joint space and a solid joint is formed after cooling. Now basically what happens when there are two surfaces, when there are two surfaces, these materials will not be melted. Only the filler material, maybe this is a filler material. This is the filler material which is applying between two surfaces. What happens? These two materials, the base materials, using a torch, it will be heated to a higher temperature, not to the melting point. Then what happens? A filler material will flow in between these two. So that what happens? These materials will diffuse into the base materials. That may be this, or this may into the both the base materials. It will flow into this materials, and then a strong bonding will be formed after cooling of this. Is it clear? What are the advantages of brazing? It is easy to learn. It is impossible. It is possible to join virtually any dissimilar materials. Any dissimilar metals can be joined. Any two metals. Okay. The bond line is very neat and aesthetically. Aesthetic means it is good looking. It doesn't give an uneasy, unaesthetic looks. It looks good. That is what it is mean. Okay, if you see the welding and soldering, it doesn't look good. Whereas if you see the brazing, it looks good also. Joint strength is strong enough for most non-heavy duty type of applications. Disadvantages of being brazed joints can be damaged under high temperatures. Say for example, if you have a utensils, if the temperature keeps increasing, it may fail because of the higher temperatures. Next one is the brazed joints require a high degree of cleanliness. That is what, because in a molten state the filler material will be flowing and it will be diffusing into the base material. So it needs to be more cleanliness. So any water particles or any other chemicals, or it may be any coatings, maybe a scaling, it may be, or it may be a dust layer, should not be there. So that leads to once again the failure of the brazing joints. Okay, and the joint color is often different from that of the base material. Obviously, it will be often different. It is only because it, that means by looking at itself, you can make it out it has been traced. That is what he means to say. This color is different, and this color is also a different one. So the joint color will be entirely different one compared to the base materials. Now, I just will give an introduction to this welding, and then in the next class we shall try to discuss the different types of welding also. Welding may be defined as the metallurgical joining of two metal pieces together to produce an essentially a single piece of metal. Welding is extensively used in the fabrication working which metal plates, rolled steels sections, casting of ferrous metals are joined together. It is also used for repairing broken, worn out, or defective metal parts. Principle of welding. A welding is a metallurgical process in which junction of two parts to be joined are heated and then fused together with or without the application of pressure to produce, but at a very high temperature itself, to continuity for the homogeneous material of the same composition and characteristics of the part which are being joined. There are two types of weldings basically. One is a pressure welding and the other one is a fusion welding. In the pressure welding, what we will do is we will apply the pressure for joining these two materials. Whereas in the fusion welding, the materials will be heated up to their molten state where they will get diffused or mixes up with each other, and the final output will be like a single material. If this is different material and this is the different material. If you join the by the brazing, you can see the mediator line. Whereas when we join it by a welding process, this appears and this will be like a single material. That will be a single material. Is it clear?